Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Dirty Dutch Mantell, also known as Zeb Colter.
He's a lot cleaner than you'd expect from a dirty man. Our brand new Wrestling Insider Special Edition is up next. Stand by.
And he said, we're looking for, and he asked me what he looked like. I said, he's about 6'8", 6'9", maybe. He weighs, I don't know, 250, 260, or whatever. And he says, Sid just went down. We're looking for a replacement for the skyscrapers from Spidey. And he said, that guy may fit the bill.
Tickets are on sale now at bostonwrestling.com for our 20th anniversary Back to the 80s WrestleFest, Saturday, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Mass. Wrestling fans, it's time to rock. WWE legend Marty Jannetty of the Rockers returns for 3 big nights, Wednesday, September the 1st through Friday, September the 3rd. Marty will be taping historical Wrestling Insider episodes, live specials, Insider autograph signings, support wrestling superstars, pre-order autographed 8x10s now over at bostonwrestling.com. This September, get your sunglasses ready. It's time to party with Marty.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome back. Dan Marty, so happy to be joined by this guy, a man I've got a lot of respect for. We tell a lot of jokes and go back and forth. We've talked some serious stuff. We've had some laughs, a little bit of everything. We did a live cyber autograph signing. By the time the fans have seen this, we've spent now, I think this will be our 3rd WrestleMania weekend together. We did it in Orlando. We did it in New York City, and now we're doing it. Yep. I don't know how far you live from here.
Your buddy was with us in New York City.
Who? Jerry Briscoe?
Tony.
Oh, man.
He was with you.
$55.
That was that was back when you guys kind of liked each other.
The thing is, Dutch, I still like the man.
Yeah.
I don't understand what is going on with this Facebook nonsense because I don't know the whole story.
If you hadn't underpaid him.
Huh?
You hadn't underpaid him.
You think he was worth 55?
Well, oh, yeah, he's worth 55. But if you hadn't underpaid him, you'd still be friends. See?
I wish, more than anything, I know the whole story. And he owes me, I don't want to say a substantial amount of money, but he owes me some money on top of it. So there's still, the saga continues. But at least I was very happy you got a chance to tell your side of the story when Tony dedicated almost a full episode to you.
For the record.
Yes.
Where'd that gentleman go? The
Which
cameraman.
one?
He said my story
Glance
and Tony's story
was
basically
identical.
The same.
Yeah. Tony's brain
so
works.
I have heard that I've heard, and I covered this 2 shows ago, that he has said that my story has changed.
Fluctuated.
Yeah, over the years. And remember I said, no, if you can tell the truth, the story stayed the same all the time. And my story has not changed from that night.
Much like Marty Jannetty, I equate Tony's brain to almost a GPS gone wild. He will come from Portland, Maine to Boston, but he'll wind up in Chicago first to get there. Yeah. So, I don't know. I am.
I'm gonna tell him you said that.
I've told him.
I am.
Okay. I am personally hurt by what's happened because I know my intentions towards the man have always been good.
You said you ran into him when?
This weekend.
Where?
Well, it was funny. Barry Dasso, Demolition Smash, had no idea any of this had gone on. And as we had dropped Barry off at the airport, not the airport, at his hotel, he started yelling, "Oh, Dan, come here. And I got out of the car. I said, "What?" He goes, "It's Tony." And Tony was in the car behind us. Yeah. And it was just kind of this awkward situation where at first Tony just kind of looked right through me like I wasn't there, like I was a ghost. And then we had banter for a minute and a half, and I just
What kind of banter?
I just said, "What are you having for dinner, you rascal?"
Yeah.
And he showed me his dinner, and he has this god-awful Orlando Magic jersey that he's worn now for the better part of 15 years, where almost 99% of the lettering is worn off. And I said, "Why don't you wear the Patriots jersey we got you for Christmas?" And then he said, "Oh, I'm a Tom Brady fan, not a Patriots fan." I said, "Well, you got a Tom Brady jersey. Why don't you wear it?"
Yeah.
And A couple of little things like that, and I said, well, I hope you do good at your fan fest this weekend. And I guess all the fan fests were an abomination as far as how few people attended because there's no one in town really for WrestleMania, you know?
You're talking about here.
In Tampa, yeah.
So Tony's in Tampa.
Yeah.
Okay.
There were two. There was WrestleCon, which we've done, and there was one called
So you didn't think
WrestleCon
WrestleCon would do well?
No. Well, because it was not, you've seen the crowds at the WrestleCons.
Mm-hmm.
It was knocked down into 5 blocks, limited to 320 people each. Now, that's a big difference compared to the WrestleCons we've been to. You know what I mean? So
Only 300 people on the floor.
320 people, including staff and wrestlers.
Ooh.
So I don't think we would
So you probably only have 100 customers there. 150.
I would say a little more than that, but not many more. So the only bath I wanted to take when I was down here in Florida was in my fine luxury suite back there, not out of the wallet. So we came up with this idea to try and tape some great content for our show, where there were going to be so many guys still in town to rent a beautiful home such as this. Mansion, I guess is the best way to word it. A mansion.
Elvis looked at this place one time.
Really?
To buy it, yes.
To buy it?
Yes.
You were going to do your own
This was going to be,
house.
this was going to be the Graceland of Florida. That's what it was going to be. I've heard about this place.
You've heard about this
Yes.
place. 6220 Millionaires Boulevard in Tampa.
A luxurious house.
Yes.
In downtown, beautiful. Overlooking the bay, by the way.
See, the fans can't look out that bay window we have right there.
Oh, yeah. It's
I mean-
beautiful. Fans, if you're watching, of course, you wouldn't hear me unless you're watching. Beautiful view right outside that window.
You brought
we would turn the camera, but the cameraman I think he's passed out in the back. So.
No, that's why they call him Glance. But I know you brought your bathing suit, and it almost looks like you have a life vest on in case you drown.
I
So
do, in
that'll
case
be
I
good.
get in there and can't swim, which I can't.
All right, back to the world that was the World Wrestling Federation in 1995. It was not certainly 87 as far as what the houses and paydays would have been at that time. But we mentioned Lawrence Taylor coming in as part of the big build-up for WrestleMania the 11. WWE also tried to replicate WrestleMania 1 by going the female route with a woman who I understand had her eyes on you at the time from Baywatch, Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, well, hard to keep her off of me. It was embarrassing, and she would be on the other side of the room. She kept coming over. I kept walking away, so we were just doing like that circle around the room. And finally I said, look, Pamela, listen, just stay over there. I'll stay over here, and we'll keep the bullshit down, okay?
And did it work out that way?
Well, it did.
I know Tommy Lee was a little jealous.
He was hot about it.
Yeah.
So,
But who could resist?
well, I could.
You're a man's man.
Right, because, that's not right. You know what I mean?
Well, I know Marty Jannetty said that things did wind up getting, after she wasn't able to get her hands on your mustache, she wound up getting her hands on different parts of Shawn Michaels. And
Yeah.
Tommy Lee was not happy.
Did you hear that?
During one of Marty Jannetty's no holds barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll filled episodes.
And he said, Marty Jannetty says that Pamela Anderson and
Shawn Michaels,
Shawn Michaels.
there was no heartbreak involved.
they connected.
They connected. No one's heart broke,
Never
except
heard-
for Tommy Lee. Maybe.
I never heard that before.
You never heard that
No.
before? No.
First time.
Well, all right.
And he was hot about it.
Tommy Lee was not pleased that his wife wound up with Shawn Michaels, believe it or not. No.
Let me speak to my personal assistant.
All right.
Will, have you ever heard that?
All
See,
right.
my
Well,
personal assistant never heard about it.
well, it's a good thing you have a personal assistant. I have a 15-year-old here wearing a shirt that says "Boots to Asses." So I mean, that's what I can afford.
Experience, buddy.
You know what?
Stay with it.
Stay with it. That's right. But did you think again? Pamela Anderson was, I would say, a worldwide celebrity at
Who
that
did the
point.
singing? Who did sing a song?
Oh, go LT, go LT, go. It was what was their name, Dave? Salt and Pepper.
Yes. Salt and Pepper. What happened to them? They folded. Faded.
Well, you know what happened with coronavirus? They don't leave the salt and pepper on the tables anymore, so
Yep.
they just got rid of them.
They were actually just in a movie.
Oh, really? Were they?
Coming to America too.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
Did they sing?
They made a cameo, yeah.
Yeah. Did they reference WrestleMania 11 when they sang Lawrence Taylor to the ring? No. I don't think salt and pepper added much to WrestleMania. But do you think where Pamela Anderson, even though beautiful woman, well known from Baywatch, which was a very popular show, I don't think she had
Never
much
saw
in-
that show.
You never saw Baywatch?
I was working. Every night I was gone. So all this, The Dallas show. Guess what? Do you watch that?
No, you didn't either.
I wasn't home. I was gone all the time.
Well, I could have seen you in the role of David Hasselhoff on Baywatch.
Very, very. He's over in Germany.
Hasselhoff is, yeah.
Big time German.
Much more than
He's
in the
a
United
big time
States.
baby face there. Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. Baywatch was
He's
kinda-
over, and I don't even know why he's over so much.
I think he sings.
He does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe in.
Hey, you're telling me things I've never heard before. I'm getting more out of this interview than you are.
Did you think, though, that Pam Anderson, as beautiful of a woman as she was, and on a very popular syndicated television show, do you think she added anything to the buzz of Mania 11?
No, not a bit.
Not the Cyndi Lauper effect.
No.
No. All right.
Well, she did. She was an actress
Yeah.
in a role that she just basically showed her body.
And saved people that were drowning.
You see, so
Maybe she's out there.
if Pamela Anderson was on the street right here, I wouldn't walk across the street.
Really?
Nah.
All right. Well, fair enough. Also, back in that time frame, you were around a man you knew quite well in Memphis. In WWF, at that point, he was known as the one, the only, the phenom, the Undertaker. You knew a much younger version of Mark Callis in Memphis. Any memories of him in the good old days when he was first breaking in? And what did you think of him as Undertaker?
Oh, I thought he fit the Undertaker. He fit the role exactly. But when he was starting out, he was Mean Mark. He was what do we call him? Master of Pain. And he just started out in Memphis. He's greener grass. He was trained by Buzz Sawyer.
Mm-hmm. Well, kinda.
Right.
He did pay for the services.
And he paid him, and he didn't finish the training. So Undertaker always had it in mind that when he ran across him, he was going to beat the crap out of him. But very athletic, and I told him, I said, if you ever go to WWF, I said, because they like big guys, you'll do well. So, and I don't know if he saw himself going. I think he did, because he's so big. How many guys are that big? And he's a great athlete. He's a great basketball player too.
And I've heard that people that play basketball take to the wrestling movements well. I don't know if that's true.
Well, because that's who I think makes the best wrestlers are basketball players.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because they have to move more and twist their bodies and finesse.
Yeah, that's what I just said. I've heard that. Yeah, just because of the way the bodies move, they
finesse.
can take to it more than a football player.
I used to play. We'd go to say a high school for a show,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd get there early, and there's some basketballs laying in the dressing room, and me and Marty would go out there and start shooting.
A little one-on-one.
Well, I played him one day with a guy called Action Jackson. You remember him?
Yep.
We played him 2-on-1, in a horse, or 21, or whatever we played. He beat both of us. I mean, he just stay around, and because we'd hit one every now and then, but you couldn't drive in on him and try to lay it up. He'd block it, and it was embarrassing, really.
Well, even though I may not be able to walk all that well, I did very well in a game of horse in Orlando back in Thanksgiving week in 2019. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings here in the room, but I can still get the shot off, Dutch. I might not be able to run if my life depended on it, but
Pinpoint that person.
boots to asses.
Here we go.
And he wasn't very happy about it that I won the game of horse, and he denied it to the mother.
He did.
He denied it to the mother.
Not only is he a sore loser,
He fibbed.
he's a liar.
He lied.
See?
He didn't want to admit that someone that couldn't walk beat him in horse.
See? I'm ashamed to hear that about you. No, but I thought Undertaker would do very well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I remember I was in Memphis, and I called Jimmy Cornette, who was working in WCW, and I was trying to get Mark booked in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I made and he asked me, will you make the call for me? I said, yeah. So he's leaving on a trip one day, and I said, come in and I'm going to call Cornette. So I called Cornette, and he says, I'm glad you called, because they had, who was Dan Spivey and
Sid. They were the skyscrapers.
Skyscrapers. And I think Sid went down, didn't he? what he looked like. I said, he's about 6'8", 6'9", maybe. He weighs, I don't know, 250, 260 or whatever. And he says, Sid just went down. We're looking for a replacement for the skyscrapers with Spivey. And he says, that guy may fit the bill. And he says, can you have him call me? I said, well, he's standing here right now. He said, it's a true story. And I handed it to Mark, and they talked a minute. And then he handed the phone back to me, and I says, well, what do you think? He says, can he make a Saturday show? Or whenever they did too, can he make he was going to start within a week. I said, yeah, he can start. And I asked him, I said, can you do it? He said, yeah. So even though he didn't really give a notice, I knew it was better for him, and I could cover for him. And so when he went to Atlanta, that's when Vince saw him. And when Vince saw him, and the Undertaker gimmick, I heard, was really what Vince thinks about himself. It's almost, he built the image in Vince's image in his head. Like you can't die and you got all these powers.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
And he put him in that image, and he took off.
What did you think of The Undertaker the first time you saw it? A dead man come back to life. Did you think it would have the longevity that it would turn into? 30 years of a main event
what
talent.
he didn't go out there and do a bunch of stuff he just beat people up. And you can get by the show business part. And he never came out of character.
Right.
Ever.
With the gimmick.
He never did a bunch of interviews with the dirt sheets. He never did a bunch of interviews because he just stayed quiet, and he became a mystery to himself. So when people tried to look what he was really like, they never really found out the background. They knew the background, but he didn't tell them the background. So I think you can be mysterious to the point to where it actually helps you, and it helped him.
And you also had a little bit of a background right here in the Florida territory with my longtime friend, a guy I still miss every day, Mr. Paul Bearer.
Yeah, well, I booked him here.
Yeah.
I booked him in Tampa.
And didn't you help create his name?
Oh, not the Paul Bearer, but
Right.
He was called Percy Pringle.
Right.
And I didn't have anything to do. I called him Percy Pringle. I don't think I had anything to do with Paul Bearer. But
didn't
the
you
Paul
help
Bearer
him develop Percy Pringle?
Say what now?
Didn't you help him develop Percy Pringle?
No, I said he was the heir to the Pringle potato chip.
That was it. Okay.
He was the heir to that fortune. And who he was a friend of, Michael Hayes was here too.
Right.
And we were looking for something because we had Coco Ware and Norvell Austin coming in as a PYT. And I brought him in for them to be their manager. So, and he did well. He was good. So, there's something else I was going to tell you about him and I forgot. But I remember we brought him in one time. He'd only been here a week, and I remember Hayes walked in a room. He said, "Percy, I don't know how to tell you this, but we're going to have to let you go." "Oh, God, oh, no." That's where he got started. He sounded really like he did. "Oh, no." Then we told him we was kidding him, and he got mad. So, I mean, to go to a place and you only been there like a week, then he tell you, "You don't have a job anymore," that was pretty hard to accept. But it wasn't that funny to me, but it was to Michael. I had a background with him and the Undertaker, and I was trying to think of somebody else I had. Barry Horowitz. I started his losing streak here, and they actually took it to WWE.
I still think it's going on.
Yeah, and
but he wasn't. What was his name? Hot?
Jack Hart.
Jack Hot. That's right. Right.
And he was great at the row. He had more heat than my top heels did, and he never won a match. And you know where I learned that gimmick?
Well,
right here in Tampa. Remember when Tampa Bay couldn't win a match? When they first started, when they got the NFL franchise.
Oh, you mean the Buccaneers couldn't win a game?
They could not win a
they were
match.
horrible.
Their own fans booed them when they would come off the field.
So Barry Horowitz became the Buccaneers of Florida Championship Wrestling.
Before they became the Buccaneers. It was, old-time Booker told me one time, he says, whatever you do, always do one thing that you enjoy, that you like to play with. He said, and that was mine.
That was yours, Barry
Oh, yeah.
Horowitz?
And it was easy to put together. And I had him at TV one day. I said, Barry, I got to tell you something. He says, we can't continue to beat you here. He says, what? I said, we got to put you over today. No.
You didn't want to go
No,
over.
don't do that. It'll kill me. And it would have killed him. So.
WWE did something similar within the past few years with Heath Slater, where he went, my God, it was probably, what, Dave, a couple of years before he won a match? Yeah.
But they didn't really did they make a big issue out of it?
Of course not.
See, but you see,
The closest thing they did to it recently was Kurt Hawkins.
Who did I
but
say?
they didn't do an issue.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Kurt Hawkins.
But they didn't do an issue with it, right?
No.
Not as big as it could have been. He just
Yeah.
had a shirt.
See, when you bring somebody out and you accent them, and all of a sudden you don't do anything with it,
Nobody cares.
no, nobody gives a crap. You got to make it a story.
Well, that's why we keep Glantz around. We never run into those issues.
Oh yeah.
Another guy that returned to the WWF in early 1995, around the same time you did. I believe you had Memphis experience as well in WWF, first known as Papa Shango, then Kama, the Supreme Fighting Machine.
Mhm.
I believe he had a stop in Memphis around the same time you were there too, did you
Undertaker was there too,
Mhm.
right? Very green. But I didn't, that's the type of guy that, he didn't have the moves that Undertaker had, and I didn't really think he would go as far as he did.
Mhm.
But Vince liked him, big guy, and he put the gimmick on him, and he progressed. But to me, the Papa Shango gimmick wasn't anywhere close to Undertaker's.
No.
Nowhere
no,
close.
No. Very memorable, little interesting, but not a long shelf life.
So then he came out as
As Kama, the Supreme Fighting Machine.
and who was he? He was the pimp too, right?
Well, that was a little later on. He said he stole that
That
gimmick
got
from you. Yeah.
So
But any memories of him as the Supreme Fighting Machine? I think the guy's name in UFC was Chemo or something along the lines of that. Was that what it was? Chemo?
Chemo.
Yeah.
He's
Not
got-
therapy.
he's
But,
got cancer.
no, that was the man's name in UFC, and they tried to
No.
replicate that, and I just thought that gimmick fell very, very flat.
Well, there's a
Even-
lot of gimmicks that have fallen flat. That's
and
just one.
That
of
was
them.
almost all of 1995 for WWE.
95 was a flat year.
It was a very flat year, not like Vicente Ray, who wishes he was a little flatter, but that's all right. Now, Mr. Willis in the back, was that 1 or 2 fists, sir? Number 1. All right, wrestling fans, right now, we're going to take a brief timeout. When we come back, we're going to continue our trip down memory lane with the one, the only, Dirty Dutch Mantell. Stand by.
Tickets are on sale now at BostonWrestling.com for our 20th anniversary Back to the 80s WrestleFest, Saturday, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Mass. The World Wrestling Federation was live at Township High School Gym in Vernon Valley, New Jersey, Tuesday, August the 18th, 1981. In the opening contest, Tony Altamore beat Roberto Soto. Larry Sharp victorious over Angelo Gomez. Bulldog Brower defeated Larry Sharp. Pedro Morales battled WWF Intercontinental Champion Don Morocco to a double disqualification. And in the main event, Angelo Mosca beat Dominic DeNucci. If you were in Vernon Valley live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our world-renowned Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive studio shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join Rotating Legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll Journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at Patreon.
Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marati.
And this is the man of the hour, Leo Rush.
It was all over BostonWrestling.com and our social media. But Leo, brother, they got to check out some of this merch.
They got to.
Check it out, fans, right now, available on eBay.
The Undisputed Era kicked ass and took no prisoners in WWE NXT. Now you can own this limited edition collector's autographed art print personally signed by Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. Also signed by the original artist, Rob Schamberger, one of only 50 made direct from our friends at WWE. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome collectible for your collection now. Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to part 2 of this fine episode, the third installment of our Wrestling Insider special edition episodes with Mr. Dutch Mantell. We look forward to the day when we can get you on the bird up to Boston and have you in our fine studio. You have yet to see our fine studio, I guess, other than video.
I've seen it on video.
Yeah, but that's about it. You need to experience it.
It's a fine facility.
And you've never even seen it.
I mean, just on pictures.
Just in pictures. It is a fine
and
facility.
not even moving pictures, just a
stills. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a still picture. Yeah, still fabulous.
Well, you know what? We've had a lot of memories in that building. It all began with the Iron Sheik's toothless, drug-induced tirade on violating Brian Blair and Hulk Hogan anally back in 2004, and it's only grown from there.
Really?
Yes.
So what's he mad about? What is his problem with Brian Blair?
I don't understand. We tried to dissect this with someone else. Something happened at WrestleMania 3. I don't know. And 17 years after the fact, the night after a live event, we decided to try to do these interview episodes. And the Sheik came down extremely coked up with no teeth. He had on a baby blue USA jumpsuit with a fake Olympic medal on and a Kurt Angle t-shirt.
So you can still see this?
Oh, yeah.
How do you see it? Tell the fans how to see it.
It's the best place to find it, fans, especially if you want to keep professional wrestling legends working. Get early ad-free access to Wrestling Insiders along with all of our studio shoot interview DVDs while helping keep professional wrestling legends working. Patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. You can get this acclaimed 3-hour studio shoot interview along with hundreds of more for your viewing enjoyment.
So how many episodes did you do with him?
Instead of episodes like this, we just did one giant 3-hour block.
Went through it.
And
he was out of control the whole way.
It started off interesting and sad. He talked about life in Iran.
Yeah.
He talked about how he became the bodyguard of the Shah in Iran. He talked about almost like a military...
You know this, Will? Any of this stuff?
He talked almost like it was almost like a military test. They drove him out to the middle of the desert. In a grave was his cousin with an ice pick in his head. And that's when he decided he actually left his 2 sons that he hasn't seen since in Iran and came to America.
So they killed his cousin?
Yes.
And let him see him?
Yes. And that's how he came to America. So it started off kind of interesting conversation like that. And then he started, depending upon...
What was the purpose of him seeing his cousin? Because the same thing can happen to you?
To see if he'd speak. Or tell people about it, I guess. You know how like sometimes they talk about I don't know if it's the CIA, but some form of United States government, they they say you have to break into this room and shoot this person, and it's a parent or something like that sitting there. I guess it was along the lines of that, only a little bit more stern, where there was the actual death that took
I never
place.
heard that story.
Yeah. Well, that's what led him to the United States, and he has not seen his two sons since, I think that was the early 70s. So, and it started off
So
very
he was
interesting.
the bodyguard for the Shah.
Very true story. And he was an AAU wrestler in Iran, which is how he got the job. He was a shooter, amongst one of the baddest men to ever be in this business. And then, as we started talking more modern day wrestling, he started talking about how he saved Bob Orton from a group of rednecks after he beat up a redneck woman. And he started talking more and more about the medicine. And then it ultimately led to the climax of WrestleMania 3, and he wanted to make Brian Blair humble, sticking a beer bottle in his ass, apparently along with the anal violation that was going to go along with it. Because in Iran, I guess it's not considered a homosexual act if you are the one that does the humbling, only being the humblee.
Yeah.
And he thought Brian Blair, for this disrespect that apparently was shown to him at some point in his life, deserved to be anally violated.
But for what reason?
I don't know. Something at WrestleMania 3. He didn't like his attitude. Then it went on to the Hulkster needed a little humbling. Jake the Snake Roberts, the Sheik was kind enough to bring him.
A humbling.
He was kind.
Oh, please, let me humble you.
He wanted Jake. The Iron Sheik brought Jake some cocaine into Canada, and Jake only gave him a smidge. So Jake deserved a little humbling.
He deserved it too.
Yeah, Randy Savage.
Does he have a humble list?
He does. Randy Savage needed to be humbled. Andre, I think, was too big to be humbled, so he was just called a big French fag. So it was an interesting 3-hour interview as he continued to...
What about Vince?
Always liked him, but he said he was homosexual as well. Linda McMahon was a nice lady, though.
Yeah, he liked her.
He liked her.
What about Shane and Stephanie?
He didn't really mention them at that point, but it's just for the whole interview.
So he hated Vince. I mean,
he liked Vince. He was just...
No, he hated Hogan.
Hated Hogan.
And hated Blair.
Blair the most.
And Randy Savage.
Randy.
And
Jake.
What about Andre?
Andre.
And what about $1 Million Man?
Really didn't have anything to say either way. Really didn't have anything to say.
So that was kind of his list.
Yeah, those were the top 5 from what I remember.
I see.
And then, Ultimate Warrior came in future interviews because...
he wanted to humble him.
He made some... the Ultimate Warrior already was humbled, which I guess the Ultimate Warrior took offense to the Sheik talking about during his bodybuilding days in Georgia, when, that's how they would survive. And the Sheik had a handler that would bring the Sheik to get his picture taken with different people at conventions. And they went up to the Ultimate Warrior, who he said was a man that was, paid for homosexual activities as he was a bodybuilder. And believe it or not, the Warrior didn't want to take his picture with the Sheik at this convention. And the Sheik was extremely...
Now, they had a video of this, didn't they?
Yes, and he slapped the handler and started screaming at the Warrior. And during this interview, I told the Sheik what the Warrior had said, that the Sheik hit lighter than a 6-year-old girl. So the Sheik said, "How old are the Ultimate Warrior's daughters?" And I said, "Well, I think they're about 6 and 8 at this point." And he goes, "Well, when they're 18, they're going to tell Ultimate Warrior, Iron Sheik has 10-inch Iranian cock."
God.
So that was heat.
That was heat. That's too much.
That was a little much. But
Yeah,
you know
it was.
And they didn't take him out of the Hall of Fame, but they did Hogan and Snooker, so I don't know.
So Hogan's out of the Hall of Fame.
But he got back in.
Oh, so
After his
he's
incident.
at Master of Ceremonies.
He is, yeah.
During WrestleMania.
And inducted into the Hall of Fame for the second time. And Jimmy, I don't know
Did he get inducted in the last bunch?
He was inducted the second time this weekend as part of the NWO, which I don't know why they do that, but I think once you're in once,
I thought he had a lot of heat about that language he used.
They have welcomed him back into the community.
And I thought that Tony Atlas, I'm not Tony Atlas, who's the guy's name? The other one?
That guy.
No, the other guy who is he, Will? The guy that's the other, he's from here. Titus.
Oh, Titus O'Neil.
Titus is one of his biggest anti-voices against him.
And they're both co-hosting WrestleMania together, which is kind of, almost sounds like a reality show. But
It does.
I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't
But I
know
think
either.
I know you're a future WWE Hall of Famer without a doubt. But do you think when you go in once is enough, or do you like these multi-time inductions?
Why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to go in twice?
Well, I think the race is going to be who is going to be the first three-timer. Is Rick going to go in 3 times as part of the Evolution faction, or is it going to be 3 times for Shawn Michaels for his tag teaming with Marty? Not what they did on the road, but they're tag teaming in the ring.
Well, I don't
You're
get.
saying X-Pac might be.
I don't see that happening. I think he's Hall of Fame out.
I don't see the.
You don't see the need.
I don't see the need for it. I mean,
You'll be happy with one.
I would be happy with one.
Who would you like to have induct you into the Hall
I've
of
been
Fame?
asked that question again. I said Vince.
Vince,
Somebody said,
right?
"Oh, Vince don't even want his name. Vince doesn't even want his name mentioned." But
He did it for Austin, but
it would probably be either Kane
that'd be a good one.
or maybe Austin.
What about the King?
Yeah.
No. All right. Well,
I don't know.
maybe if these interviews go well, they'll ask me. I don't know.
It could.
I still think I should induct him.
The King would be a good one, though.
He shares the same birthday as you too, does he
He
not?
does. He does.
You, JBL, and Jerry Lawler all have the same
And
birthday.
I heard Mean Gene.
Well, he's not with us, so I don't think he'll be inducting you.
Yeah, but I asked him one time. Somebody
Yeah.
told me he has the same birthday as you.
Oh, he's November 29th.
Is he?
I don't know.
That's
Can
what I heard.
someone check the Google machine on Mean Gene's birthday?
But I asked him one time, is that his birthday? He said no. And I said, well, how'd that start? That's how rumors start,
December 19th.
Well, close.
December 19th. That's
Close.
That's like a whole month away from November 29th.
It's like saying my birthday is almost
And
near Halloween.
There's actually a girl, active talent now that has November 29th birthday too.
A WWE talent?
Yes, now.
Which one is that?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, she really left an
Not
impact.
Alexa
in
Bliss,
your-
but she was a blonde-headed girl.
Yeah, one of them.
Yep, I
Yeah.
think. And one of the kind of better-known names.
Well,
So.
they're lucky to be in such a fine group.
I watched SmackDown this week for the first time in forever.
And what did you think?
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's not a bad show. It's the go-home show for WrestleMania. It wasn't bad.
But we had Al Snow with us, so we missed it.
You had Al Snow where?
Here, in the Wrestle House,
Oh, in this luxurious mansion.
in this mansion.
Yeah.
He did. He invited some guests over, and they went swimming
That-
last night.
Could have been a potential Graceland.
Yes,
So you got to keep
if you
bringing
bought
up.
it first, but
Yeah.
you gave up on it.
Yeah.
Maybe when you get the payoff for the Hall of Fame.
I think Eddie Graham bought this one. Time.
Did he? Well, I hope this isn't where Eddie ended things, but we don't need the ghost of Eddie.
You know, the
Graham.
thing about the Grahams, and I was thinking one day, I do think sometimes, Eddie Graham committed suicide with a gun.
Mhm.
Then his grandson committed suicide with a gun. And then Eddie's son, Mike, killed himself the same way. So it was father, son, grandson. And they all killed themselves with a gun
Isn't that something?
within about a 10-year period.
I think Eddie Graham was Super Bowl weekend '86, so he was quite a bit before Mike Graham.
It was Super Bowl. No, it was Super Bowl, right? You said Super. It was Super Bowl weekend. It was. I was in Orlando. I was actually here booking, and I get the news about. Somebody told me while we were. I think the Super Bowl that night was. It was a night Super Bowl.
Mhm.
We had an afternoon show in Orlando, and right when the show was finishing up, we got the news that Eddie had. We first heard that he had killed himself, but he didn't. This is something you don't probably know about it. He died the next day because you put him on life support.
Oh, he didn't die immediately. Oh.
Actually shot himself twice
Oh.
because the first time, I think they said he had it in his mouth,
Oh.
and he was trying to, I guess, move the gun. He just shot out the side of his jaw. And I can see Eddie now saying, "Motherfucker, I can't even fucking kill myself." And I bet he got mad. I know Eddie. And then the second time he made sure he did it.
Wow. Do you know who found him?
I think his wife
His
found
wife.
him. Because I think she went to the store,
Mm-hmm.
like to the grocery store, to get something, or he sent her, and she came back and found him.
Wow.
But he wasn't dead. They called the police, of course, and the ambulance. They took him down and put him on life support, and he still didn't die.
I mean,
No,
honestly, that's quite the story.
Yeah, they had to pull the plug.
Oh, they had to pull the plug on him.
Yes, he was
oh,
on
he,
life.
Oh, I see. I understand.
He was on life support, you know, and I guess it's making him breathe. And after he shot himself and still didn't do the trick, and then they had to pull the plug.
Was it a surprise to you guys? I mean, did you have any indication that he was hurting inside?
I knew that something was wrong with Eddie because I would come in from the shows, and sometimes I had to run by the office. That's where the old office used to be at 106 Albany Street or whatever they used to say it was. Because wrestling was big here.
Yeah.
I mean, they had good ratings. It was probably territory that I would consider close to Memphis. Was here.
Oh, yeah.
It was good wrestling.
Everybody wanted to be in Florida.
A good show, and I would go by the office. And one night I went by the office, and they had a big plate glass window where the guy, I can't remember his name now, that he would sit, and he was like the receptionist. He was like 100 years old, but Eddie liked him and just gave him a job, just running the front desk. And I would ride by there at night, and I would ride by in front of the office. And about twice I had to do this, and Eddie was sitting in that seat with the big fluorescent light on. And he was just sitting there, and he's just looking straight ahead.
Really?
So I pulled over one time. I said, "Is something wrong here?" And I looked through that plate glass window, and he sat there for about, I don't know, 5 minutes anyway. And he all he was doing is he would blink his eyes, but he was deep in thought. You could tell something was bothering him, because if somebody's not bothering you, you're just not going to sit there. I mean, for what reason would he sit there in that chair? Oh, he should have went upstairs. I don't know. But you could tell that something was bothering him. And that was only about a month before he killed him. He did the shooting.
Was business going down? Was it bad? Or was it a wrestling-related thing?
This was when he was looking for a booker. He calls Jerry Jarrett. He says, "Do you have anybody that has a little bit of a head for this business that, you know, could help me book this place?" And Jerry suggested me. So I went down for the interview. I met Eddie, and he said, "Okay, I want you to start." And I went back home and get prepared to come down here. But the reason business was down because Dusty had just left. And Dusty gutted the territory.
To bring up the...
He took himself out, which was the biggest blow. Then he took Wyndham out. Then he took a few more out. And I mean, he took the guts. So when I took over, it was a bunch of just guys that I had to get over again.
You had some spare parts that you needed to make a car with.
It took me 3 months to get it going, to get it up to where it was kind of making a little bit of money. And it was tough. And I could have probably hot-shotted it and brought in some big names, but the ratings were still there. Just that nothing interested them in coming to the matches. About 3 months, it started to click a little bit. That's when I started doing the Jack Hart thing, and the Free Birds come in, and then the Pretty Young Things, and then Brian Blair was here, and you know, the Iron Sheik loves him to death. And
pre-humbling days.
And we finally got it up to where it was doing halfway decent. I mean, you would go to a building and you see open seats. You know, they would be at least half or 3/4 filled. So,
now how long did it take for the promotion to kind of cease operation? Did it keep going, or because there was a little bit of a gap?
Well, I think when I left, Wahoo came in, and I think it went another year or two. But it was on fumes. It was running on fumes because, you know, Vince did a lot of damage because he saw the little rinky-dink wrestling they were watching.
Right.
Was no competition for the, you know,
the superstars,
fire and thunder the WWE programming was putting out. You know, when you see Broadway, you can't go back to the community theater.
Right, right.
I mean, you can, but you got to have one hell of a story.
And you didn't have much to work with when you were doing the booking, like you said. Most of the top talent had gone on to greener pastures.
Yeah, they all left.
It was the money
And
down here too.
Oh well, if you're not drawing, see, we didn't have contracts. You made what you made.
Right.
So,
Percentage based.
Yeah, that's it.
When did you leave?
After Eddie, did that, I was only here about 6 or 7 months.
And then did you go back to
Well,
Memphis?
after
or-
Eddie shot himself,
Mhm.
it kind of sapped me because I liked Eddie.
Mhm.
He was always very good to me, very good mentor. You know, if you sit and you listen to him, he would give you, well, try to do this. And he instilled in me, him and Jerry Jarrett, he instilled in me, tell the story and stay on the story and take it to a kind of a climax that people think is a climax, split off of it, and then come back to it. Once you got something over, don't leave it. You know, you can split them off and then come back into it. Because the fans don't forget.
Mhm.
You've seen that, right?
Oh, sure.
You know, all of a sudden they don't want you to believe this happened. And all of a sudden the guy's teaming up with somebody
Exactly. Yeah.
like
yeah,
me
yeah.
and Alberto Del Rio. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my
And
life.
it never got over.
Hell no.
Nobody cared. Well, no one really cared about him at all at any point. But
Well,
I think
I think me and
his
Jack-
ring announcer was more over than he was.
I think me and Jack got as much out of him as anybody did.
You know, we'll ask this young fan right here, Boots the Asses. During the Alberto Del Rio days, did you
Del
enjoy
Rio.
Alberto more or Ricardo Rodriguez doing the big Alberto Del Rio more? You liked Ricardo more? Well, there you go. I thought Del Rio was boring. He didn't have much personality.
Boring. He wasn't that exciting.
And then he went on to have his exploits with these women. You know, he had the Page situations and
Just had to bring it up, didn't you?
what?
His downside.
Well,
See? Just had to remind everybody. Hey, the latest thing he did,
he wanted to leave the baby in the middle of the road.
that's what I heard. Is that
Yeah.
true?
I was told that there was some exchanges of green that went on, and luckily he has got out of that charge.
Oh, he has.
Yes, so that is good for Alberto, but I certainly can't see him in this PC day and age winding up in a American wrestling promotion, at least.
What are his chances of making the WWE Hall of Fame?
I would say I don't think Paige would be inducting him, that's for sure.
No.
And she ran into her own issues with some of her films and pictures that came to light.
Now, this is what it's like. Okay, Hogan can say that. Now he's back in. Paige can do what she did. She's back in.
Well, I don't think any of them sodomized a woman for about 6 hours and threatened to leave their baby in the middle of a highway.
Well, you don't know he sodomized the woman.
Well, that's what she claimed.
Oh, okay.
It's a long night of sodomizing, 6 hours. But
That is. So he was humbling her.
I don't know if that was the entrance that he used, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of inanimate objects used, and maybe even some animate object used. It was a rough night for the poor lady.
So they were actually no charges brought.
There were.
They were.
But I guess before it went to trial, she wound up claiming it never happened and dropped them after an envelope exchanged hands.
But so they settled out of court.
I guess maybe that's the best
But that's
way to put
criminal
it.
charges.
Yes,
So she dropped the criminal charges, not a lawsuit.
right.
Okay.
So what did you think of the guy?
Alberto
Yeah,
had bad temper.
did he?
Bad temper.
Did
We went to Germany. Here's a story nobody
All right.
knows. Went to Germany and he's in this bar and it's late. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Alberto liked to drink, and when he drank, he got a little bolder. And I got along with him, but he was sober and I was at the matches. I didn't go to the bars. And so some guy said something to a woman in the bar, and Del Rio called him out on it. And he's getting in each other's face, and all of a sudden, here come a beer bottle across right here.
really?
And he showed up on TV with a black eye for like a couple of weeks. You remember that?
Yeah, that's
That's
what
what
led
hit
to
him.
that. Wow.
A beer bottle hit him because he got on the guy for getting onto a woman. Like all of a sudden, he's Mr. Virtuous. And he's going to take up for it. And then his buddy stepped over and took the glass ball and hit him.
I think it was over in Europe that he got into a major brawl with his brother, and they both wound up in jail. And then once they got to jail, they beat the hell out of each other in the jail, and there was blood all over the walls. So, short-tempered man.
Yeah, he's got a bad temper. And he got released from WWE is because there was in catering one day, and it was a couple of production guys, and it was Alberto and somebody else, and the guy got up, the production guy that got up, and somebody said, "Are you gonna clean up your plate or take your plate out or something?" And he said, "Nah, Alberto will get it." Oh, he got so mad. He got up and he ended up slapping the guy. That's what got him fired.
I think that was justified.
He got the other guy fired too. The production guy got fired too.
He got canned too?
Yep, they both got canned.
Well, you know what? I don't think that was a comment that should have been made.
No, it shouldn't have been made.
You know, but again, it shows how hot-tempered he was.
But I think the guy was just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he was friends enough with Alberto to reach that threshold of a joke. And he got up and it made him hot and he slapped him.
Well, it cost him some big money for a couple of years too.
No, it did.
And then he came back that infamous night with John Cena and you. And I said, what on earth are they doing?
Oh, yeah, that's what
Not
I said.
Not that I wasn't happy to see you, because I've always enjoyed your work, but I mean, to have you come out in the little scooter with him after you spent years
and I had a great
eviscerating him?
I had a great idea about how to make that work.
And what was the idea?
Well, the idea was that Jack was going to surprise us one night when we were in Raw, but he was going to come out on stage and just start talking to me. He said, "You mean to tell me all this time I spent with you and you called him a son of a bitch and all this? And you were like, you were lying, you were faking, this, that, and the other." He said, "I ought to kick your ass." And he comes down there, and, you know, I was on the crutches at the time, and he come down there, and what he got to do is he kicked one crutch out, and Alberto was standing in the ring, let us handle it till he kicked the crutch out. Then I'd go down, and then he would grab me. Now Alberto would make his move. And then he'd pick up the mic, and Jack would go up the ramp a little bit. He said, "Let me tell you something, Swagger," or whatever. He said, "Why don't you pick on a man who will fight you back, who's able to fight you back? Now, if you want to go, the ring's right behind me. But in the meantime, I get up, and I get my crutch." Right when he says, "Get in the ring, you want to go?" He said, "Yeah, let's go." And right when he turns around, I nailed him with the crutch, and we beat the shit out of him. Now you don't have to tell them what we did.
Yeah.
It's a setup.
Yeah.
And it would have took off.
Yeah. Do you think that you guys should have left MetLife Stadium in New Jersey that night at WrestleMania 29 with the title where Del Rio was so flat?
I think so.
Because that gimmick was really, even though it was kind of new, it was really taken off.
Well, you know the reason, right?
Was it because he got pulled over?
Yeah, he got
the gimmick?
The charges were still pending.
Oh, it wasn't resolved yet.
No, it was only like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
See?
That's too bad, and I think it cost him because this is a guy you look at, big guy, decent-looking guy, great, real, legitimate athlete, and after that run he had with you, they really didn't do much with Jack Swagger at all. Now he has like this Al Bundy wardrobe that he wears on AEW, like he's going over to Grandpa's house for a barbecue in the summer. I don't understand why you'd take an athlete that's the real deal and dress him like that. I don't know. That's just one man's opinion, but at least it's nice to see him doing something of relevancy.
They put him in Jericho's circle.
Yeah.
So, and it all revolves around Jericho.
Yeah.
So,
just the wardrobe. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
You'd think they want him looking like a badass athlete, not a guy, you know.
You would think.
That's getting ready to collect Social Security.
You would think.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
You would think.
You think.
I think it's time for a break.
Well, no, we're running out of time. We got to get ready for...
if you didn't talk so much.
Well, you know what? Usually that's what we do here instead of playing cards. You know,
hey, the guy's doing this. What's this mean? Shorten it up. Let's go.
Skull and playing cribbage.
What's that mean? What's that mean?
What was that? Was that what Glantz did? Oh, I don't know. All right, well, wrestling fans running out of time. Would love to know what you thought about this episode. All of our episodes. The Premier Box is going to the right of me, Let us know what you thought of tonight's episode. If you're not watching the premiere, leave some thoughts in the comment section below. Again, we'd love to have Dutch up to Boston. The super chat is open always.
See, he's dying to get me to Boston. Didn't a lot of damn mafia figures go up around Boston? Oh.
Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. The super chat button is open. Don't forget to tip the bartender, folks. The Patreon, it is out of control with early ad-free access to Wrestling Insiders. You get the acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library that's been seen by millions online. Millions more daily on The Howard Stern Show. Plus, some Patreon exclusive in the knowledge that you, yes you, are helping keep professional wrestling legends working. And if the coronavirus is killing your nightlife, much like Dave Willis back there as it is on Tinder and Bumble and all of these other apps, the eBay store is open 24/7, baby.
Grindr. He's on Grindr.
Grindr. Well, I didn't want to mention that part. All right. Well, for Dutch Mantell, I'm Dan Marty. We look forward to seeing you again soon on Wrestling Insiders. Until we speak again, you and yours be well, stay healthy. Good night.
Thank you for joining us. Please give the video a big thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel to enjoy more great content. Don't forget, you can help keep wrestling legends working. Check out our eBay store and join the Boston Wrestling family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling so we can produce more in-depth shoot interviews.